She unzipped his suit jacket as he slipped her dress strap off her shoulder. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for my grandfather's old pocket watch. I'd stashed it somewhere safe, months ago, and figured it must have ended up buried in our bedroom closet. Rachel, my wife of 9 years, was out at yoga, so I had the place to myself. I started pulling down boxes, digging through winter clothes, old shoes, random junk. That's when I found it, a silky, black drawstring bag shoved way in the back, behind her suitcase. Inside were panties. Not the kind she wears around the house. These were lace, barely there, with a slit right down the middle. There was a matching bra that was more straps than fabric, and a garter belt that looked like something out of a movie I'd never been invited to watch. Here's the kicker. I'd never seen Rachel wear anything like this. Not once. And it's not like our bedroom life was on fire lately. In fact, for the past year, she'd been too tired, too stressed, or just not in the mood. I didn't know what to think. Curiosity, and honestly, confusion, got the better of me, so I shoved one of the panties in my pocket, thinking I'd ask my buddy Tom later. Big mistake. When I showed him, he actually laughed. Dude, those are crotchless panties. You don't buy these unless you're trying to, make things easy during sex. If you've never seen her in them, then, they're for someone else. The words hit me harder than I expected. And I laughed it off with him, but inside, my stomach had dropped into my shoes. Tom stopped laughing when he saw I wasn't smiling back. Jake, you're telling me you've never seen her wear these? Not once? Not for a joke, not for an anniversary, nothing? Never, I said. My voice came out flat. He leaned back in his chair, his face losing all humor. Man, I hate to say it, but women don't just buy stuff like this for themselves. That's targeted lingerie. It's for a show, and for a specific audience. I felt my ears burning. So you're saying? I'm saying it's weird as hell she's hiding them in the closet, and you had to stumble on them. I'm saying if she's not wearing them for you, there's a damn good chance she's wearing them for somebody else. It was like a punch I didn't see coming. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, that there had to be an innocent reason. But the truth was, the last year had been off. Rachel had started going to yoga 3 nights a week, then grabbing a quick drink with her instructor friends. She'd been traveling for work more too, always with vague details about who she was meeting. And yeah, the intimacy between us had gone from lukewarm to non-existent. Tom leaned forward. Jake, I'm your friend, so I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. If I were you, I'd start paying attention. Check her receipts, see if she's hiding messages. And for the love of God, don't tell her you found those panties. Not yet. I nodded, but my mind was already spinning. I didn't know it yet, but Tom had just handed me the first thread of a sweater I was about to unravel completely. That night, I couldn't look at Rachel the same way. She came home from yoga, flushed and smiling, kissed me on the cheek, and went upstairs to shower. I sat there on the couch, nodding at her stories, but my mind was back in that closet. When she finally fell asleep, I slipped out of bed and went back in. I pulled everything from the top shelf down, methodically searching. And there it was, a small, zippered pouch inside her suitcase. Inside were receipts from a lingerie boutique 2 towns over, dated within the last 6 months. 2 of them were for specialty sets, costing more than I'd ever think to spend on underwear. There were also 3 hotel key cards from different chains, no names, no notes, just tossed in there like loose change. My chest tightened. I knew she'd been traveling for work more lately, but she never mentioned staying overnight in the city. I took photos of everything with my phone and put it all back exactly how I'd found it. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from anger. As I closed the suitcase, I caught my reflection in the closet mirror. I didn't look like a husband anymore. I looked like a guy trying not to believe he was about to become a fool in his own house. That was the moment I knew Tom was right. I needed proof. And I was done pretending nothing was wrong. The next morning, While Rachel was in the shower, I stepped outside and called a local private investigator. His name was Vince, ex-cop, straightforward, no small talk. I told him I suspected my wife was cheating, and I wanted hard evidence. He didn't flinch. You got a schedule for her? Usual nights out? Car make and model? I gave him everything, the yoga nights, the work trips, her silver SUV. He said he'd start that week. 2 days later, he called me while I was at work. Your wife's leaving the yoga studio now. She's not heading home. My pulse spiked. Where's she going? Following her now. Okay, she's pulling into the parking garage of the Hyatt downtown. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles hurt. She's meeting a guy, Vince said. Tall, dark hair, suit. Looks like he came from the office. They're headed inside together. I wanted to drive there right then, storm the lobby, drag them out. But Vince's voice cut through my rage. You want me to get the good stuff? Stay put. Let me work. By the end of the week, he delivered. Photos of her and the guy, later confirmed to be a coworker named Matt, having drinks at the hotel bar, then heading up to a room together. Shots of them the next morning, leaving separately but within minutes of each other. When I opened the file on my laptop, one image stopped me cold. Rachel in the hotel elevator, wearing a dress I'd never seen, holding a small silky bag I knew damn well contained the slit panties from our closet. That was the moment the suspicion hardened into certainty. She wasn't just cheating. She was living a whole other life I'd never been invited into. After seeing those photos, every instinct in me wanted to confront Rachel immediately. But Tom's voice kept echoing in my head, don't tip your hand until you've got it all. So I played the role. I smiled, asked about her day, even made her coffee in the mornings. Meanwhile, I was cataloging everything. Bank statements showing charges at that lingerie boutique, unexplained ATM withdrawals, Lyft receipts from nights she claimed to be at. Team dinners. I went through her old emails when she left her laptop open one night. She was careful, nothing explicit in writing, but I found enough: hotel confirmation emails sent to her personal account, calendar entries marked only with a single emoji. The hardest part was pretending I didn't know. Every "I'm going to yoga" was a gut punch. Every late return home was a reminder of exactly where she'd been and with whom. I started noticing little things I'd been blind to before: how she'd hum while texting, how her makeup was more done up on work trip days, how she suddenly wore perfume to run errands. At night, I'd lie there next to her, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I'd been the punchline in someone else's story. I wasn't ready to explode yet. I wanted the confrontation to be undeniable, public, and devastating. And I knew exactly how I'd make that happen. Vince came through again. A week after the first set of photos, he called with a voice that told me he had something big. You're gonna want to see this in person, he said. We met in the back booth of a diner. He slid a small USB drive across the table. Security footage from the Hyatt. Got it from a contact. I took it home and plugged it into my laptop. There she was, Rachel, stepping out of the elevator on the 14th floor, holding hands with Matt. They were laughing, leaning close, his hand on her lower back like he owned it. Then came the hotel room hallway camera. She fished out a key card, one of the exact cards I'd found in her suitcase, and opened the door. They went in, and the camera caught it before the doors shut. She was already unzipping his suit jacket. He was pushing the strap of her dress off her shoulder. And there, clear as day, peeking from her purse as she swung it onto the dresser, were the black lace slit panties I'd found in our closet. That was the nail in the coffin. Not just implication, not just suggestion, it was her, in real time, bringing another man into a room with lingerie she'd never once worn for me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there watching the loop, feeling something in me harden past the point of breaking. She'd been careful. She'd been clever. But she wasn't careful enough to hide from me anymore. And I knew exactly where and when I was going to confront her. I waited until Sunday dinner at my parents' house. That table had seen every milestone of our marriage: engagement announcements, holiday toasts, Lily's first birthday cake, and I wanted it to see the end of it, too. Rachel came dressed to impress, all smiles, greeting my mom with flowers and kissing my dad on the cheek. She had no idea the storm she was walking into. Halfway through dinner, after the roast chicken and before dessert, I pushed my chair back. There's something I need to show everyone. I reached into my bag and pulled out the silky black panties, holding them up by 2 fingers. Rachel, want to tell my family why these were hidden in the back of our closet? Her face went white, then red. Jake, this is disgusting. Why are you bringing up our private? Private? I cut her off. They're not private when they're being worn in the Hyatt downtown with your coworker Matt. I slid my laptop onto the table and hit play. The footage rolled, her and Matt in the hallway, her letting him in, the lingerie visible in her purse. Gasps all around the table. My sister covered her mouth. My dad muttered, Jesus Christ. Rachel's voice rose, sharp and defensive. You're spying on me? This is sick, Jake. You've lost it. I leaned back. No, Rachel. I found it, the truth. And now so has everyone else. She grabbed her purse and bolted, muttering something about me being pathetic and controlling. No one at that table moved to defend her. The next morning, my phone blew up with texts from Rachel. First it was rage. You humiliated me in front of your entire family for no reason. You're insane, Jake. This is why I needed passion somewhere else. Then it was guilt-tripping. I've been unhappy for years, and you never noticed. If you were a real man, you'd have fought for me instead of spying. By noon, she'd switched to public damage control. I started getting screenshots from friends, her Instagram flooded with melodramatic quotes about betrayal, being trapped in a loveless marriage, and choosing herself. She even had the nerve to text my mom, trying to spin it. You know how cold he's been to me. I just needed to feel wanted. My mom's reply was short and brutal. You felt wanted enough to check into hotels with another man while my son was at home with you. Don't contact me again. That one I kept. Read it a few times that night, actually. Rachel's favorite trick had always been flipping the script, making me question whether I was somehow the problem. But now the script wasn't just mine anymore, it was in the hands of everyone who'd seen the footage. And for the first time in years, she couldn't rewrite it. By the time Rachel was done throwing her online pity party, I was already 3 steps ahead. First call was to my bank. I pulled every cent from our joint checking and savings into an account solely in my name. Froze the joint credit card. Changed all my online banking passwords. Second call was to Harris, my family's attorney. I told him everything, sent him the PI's photos, the receipts, and the hotel footage. Harris didn't waste time. Given what you've shown me, we can file for divorce on grounds of adultery and protect your assets immediately. The prenup will do most of the work. By the next morning, Rachel's access to my finances was gone. She found out the hard way when her card got declined trying to buy a $300 pair of boots. She called me from the store, furious. What the hell, Jake? My card isn't working. That's because it's not your card anymore, I said. You can buy your lingerie on your own dime from now on. The silence on the line was delicious. Then came the inevitable insult. You're pathetic. No wonder I hung up before she could finish. It wasn't just about the money. It was about cutting the cord she'd been swinging from for years, making her realize that the safety net was gone, and it wasn't coming back. I didn't need to scream or post angry rants. All I had to do was plant a few seeds in the right places and let Rachel's reputation rot on its own. When friends asked why we weren't together, I didn't give them a sob story, I gave them facts. She was meeting her coworker Matt at the Hyatt. I've got photos. Want to see? Most people didn't even need to see them. The way I said it, calm, steady, was enough. Word spread fast. Our couple's game night group quietly split. Only everyone invited me and left her out. The hiking club we joined years ago lost her email address when they planned their next trip. Even her cousin, who she used to be thick as thieves with, stopped liking her posts. Rachel tried to fight it. She started showing up at events without me, acting like nothing was wrong. But people knew, and it showed: awkward hellos, quick goodbyes, whispered conversations behind her back. The final blow was when her own work friend, the one she always bragged about being like a sister, sent me a DM saying, "I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't know the details, but now I get why you're done." She's not who I thought she was. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The network she'd built to make herself feel untouchable was crumbling, and I hadn't even broken a sweat. One Saturday morning, I pulled every box and drawer she'd ever claimed as hers into the middle of the living room. Jewelry boxes, handbags, the expensive perfume she only ever wore on girls' nights. And of course, the silky bag with the slit panties. I laid it all out on the floor like an exhibit. This was the currency of her double life, the props she used to play both the doting wife and the secret mistress. I didn't want them in my house another second. I took the whole lot to a pawn shop 3 towns over, the kind of place where no one asks questions. The guy behind the counter raised his eyebrows at the lingerie. "Special night planned?" he joked. "Something like that," I said, sliding the rest of the jewelry across. He gave me a fair chunk of change for it all. I didn't keep a dime. I deposited every cent straight into a savings account I'd set up for my niece's college fund. Rachel hated my sister, so it felt poetic. When she realized her things were gone, she called in a rage. "Those were my gifts. You had no right. They were paid for with my money," I said. "Consider it reimbursement." She screamed something about lawyers and emotional abuse before hanging up. But we both knew she wouldn't take it to court. She couldn't exactly explain why she needed those panties back. By the time I sat down in Harris's office to sign the papers, I wasn't even angry anymore. I was done. Harris slid the stack across the desk. "We'll file on adultery, present the PI's evidence, and push for a quick resolution. With the prenup, she's not entitled to much, and the more she fights, the more expensive it'll be for her." I signed every page without hesitation. It felt less like ending a marriage and more like cutting off a gangrenous limb before it killed me. Rachel found out when the process server handed her the envelope at work. Harris timed it that way on purpose, public, undeniable. She blew up my phone that night. "You couldn't even talk to me like an adult? You had to humiliate me in my office?" I texted back one sentence. 9 years, Rachel. You had plenty of chances to talk to me." The legal side moved fast. Her lawyer tried to argue for spousal support, but the prenup slammed that door shut. In the end, she walked away with her car, her clothes, and whatever was left in her personal checking account, which, judging by the overdraft notices, wasn't much. When the divorce decree came in the mail, I didn't pop champagne or have some big cathartic moment. I just tossed it on the counter and went to make dinner. The real freedom wasn't in the papers, it was in the silence that followed. The first morning after the divorce was finalized, I woke up to sunlight coming through the blinds and nothing else. No Rachel stomping around, slamming drawers. No heavy sighs over how much she had to do. Just quiet. I made coffee, actually sat at the kitchen table, and realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd done that without rushing or feeling tense. I started small. Got back into running 3 times a week. Rejoined my old pool league. Called friends I hadn't seen in years, the same ones Rachel used to roll her eyes at and call a waste of time. I even took a weekend trip with my sister's family, something I'd been too busy for back when I was bending my schedule to fit Rachel's yoga nights. The more space I put between myself and her chaos, the more I saw how much of my life had been shaped to fit her lies. What I ate, where I went, who I spent time with, all of it had been filtered through her moods and her secrets. And then one Saturday morning, I found myself in a music store, buying a second-hand guitar. I hadn't played in over a decade, but when I sat down that night and strummed the first few chords, it hit me. I was finally doing something for me, with no one watching and no one judging. It felt damn good. By spring, my life didn't even look like it belonged to the same man who'd found those panties in the closet. I booked a solo trip to Colorado, a week in the mountains hiking, fishing, and breathing air that didn't feel heavy. No itinerary, no checking in with anyone. I came back sunburned, sore, and happier than I'd been in years. I signed up for a woodworking class at the community center. The first project was a coffee table, rough around the edges but solid. I kept it in the living room as a reminder that I could build something real from scratch. Friends started introducing me to people. I wasn't ready for anything serious, but I went for coffee with a woman named Claire who actually listened when I talked and didn't spend the whole time scrolling her phone. It felt human. Financially, I was in the best shape I'd been in since before the marriage. No unexplained charges. No boutique lingerie bills. No hotel stays I wasn't invited to. Just my own spending, my own choices. I even got back in touch with Tom, the friend who'd first told me the truth about those panties. We laughed about it over beers one night, and for the first time, I could laugh without bitterness. The past was still there, but it wasn't steering my life anymore. If you told me a year ago that a piece of lace I didn't recognize would be the thread that unraveled my entire marriage, I would have laughed. Now I know it's not the panties, the hotel rooms, or even the other man that cuts the deepest. It's the years you spend thinking you know someone while they're building a whole other life behind your back. Rachel's cheating wasn't a reflection of my worth, it was a reflection of hers. She needed constant novelty, validation, and drama, and when she didn't get it from me, she went shopping for it elsewhere. The fact that she lied so easily wasn't just about protecting herself, it was about keeping me exactly where she wanted me. Revenge felt good in the moment, cutting her off financially, letting her social circle know the truth, pawning off her affair gifts. But the real victory came later, in the quiet. In mornings where I could drink my coffee without wondering if my wife was lying about where she'd been. In finding hobbies and friendships she never got the chance to poison. If you're in the place I was, here's my advice. 1. Don't ignore the small signs. 2. Don't confront until you have undeniable proof. 3. Protect your finances before your heart. 4. When you leave, really leave, no half measures, no lingering what ifs. I'm not the same man I was when I found those panties. I'm better. Not because she hurt me, but because I refused to let her be the last word in my story. She's just a bad chapter. The rest of the book is mine to write. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.